It makes people think, oh yeah, I just show up and, sit here, turn the computer on, and I'm going to do a bunch of deals. No, it's work. A lot of rejection at first. You're grinding. There are thousands of other people in this business.
Hello and welcome to episode 127 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we are joined by entrepreneur, real estate agent, author, and leadership coach Matt Shoup. After being laid off from a corporate banking job in 2005, Matt founded his first company, M&E Painting, with his last $100. Since then, M&E Painting has grown to over $30 million in revenue. Matt's launched 5 more companies and has become a successful real estate agent in the Northern Colorado area. Throughout our conversation, Matt shares stories of how he grew his business on a bootstrap budget and tips for real estate agents looking to stand out from their competition by building a personal brand of real substance. Now, before we get on to today's featured interview, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. Also, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on with today's featured interview with Matt Shoup. His brand new book, Painted Baby, Connect with Clients Through Brave and Vulnerable Storytelling, just launched on January 31st and is available via the Amazon link we've added to the episode description. I definitely recommend checking it out. Well, the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit, who you are and where you're at in the country.
Yeah, I'm Matt Shoup, and I live in Northern Colorado, about an hour north of Denver. And I'm a husband, father, serial entrepreneur, author, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I am a Spanish coffee addict and Spain fan. I love Spain, and just love sharing my story to help inspire people in business and life and leadership.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And we were talking, previously about, how you kind of got started in the entrepreneur world. So tell us a little bit about, the businesses that you started out with.
Yeah. I have, kind of 2 starts. I have my unofficial business story. 10 years old. We just moved from New Jersey to Northern Colorado, and I wanted a boombox. I wanted one of those big CD player machines, back in the day. And I asked my parents to give me $200. They said, nope, you got to figure it out yourself. And at that point, I was cutting grass for like $4 a week. I think that was pretty low wages back then, but it's okay. And they said, hey, find a way to make your own money. And I said, can I borrow that lawnmower? And I just went up and down the street, knocked on doors, and started mowing lawns. Got cold, snowed, shoveled snow, peddled candy out of the middle school locker. So that was, I got picked on a lot growing up. I got pretty severely bullied. Was really scared to go out in the world, and there wasn't a lot that gave me confidence. I didn't have a lot of tools, nor had a lot of confidence instilled in me or built up in me. But man, when I got into that business space, magazine sales at school, I would go win the top prize and then go win prizes for 3 other of my friends so they could do the limo ride. So that was my thing. That gave me a lot of identity. And I fast forward to college, got approached by a college painting company. And they recruit college students, teach them all about marketing, business, sales, and you kind of do it on their dime and, get a really good experience. So I made a bunch of money in college. I attended Colorado State University, and that was from 99 to 03. Made a bunch of money, spent twice what I made. So I graduate, 6 figures in debt, bought an over leveraged house, get married. But I'm not doing this painting thing. I'm going to go jump into the sexy mortgage business, suit and tie, and guys and gals making a lot of money. And I hated it. It was the last place I wanted to be. It looked one way on the outside, another way on the inside. And I got fired. March of 2005, they kind of changed leadership. And this new bank president comes in, said, hey, Matt, come here, come into the office, put all your shit in a box and leave. You're fired. And that was my defining moment of, where do I go from here? What do I do from here? And that was the launch of my first now official business, right? M&E Painting. So $100 left to my name, opened the bank account, and just started working.
Right. Yeah. Well, I really, the unofficial start to business, I love that because mine was a surfboard. I wanted a surfboard really bad. Mm-hmm. And I did the same thing, knocked on doors and cut lawns. Luckily, I was in Florida, so it never ended. But
that's all year round. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely relate to the starting out young. I think I was 11 when I wanted that
Yeah.
surfboard. So can
Yeah.
definitely
And I
relate to that.
love I love seeing that, you driving around town, you get the kids with the lemonade stand or, knocking on your door. Hey, can I pick up your dog poop? I mean, it's so cool to see that. I've taught that and really attempted to instill that in both of my kids. And it's been really cool to see how they approach making money and going after something they want. Cause I'm not going to give it to you.
Right.
Neither is the world, right? Like the world's not just going to hand you something as much as you think it will, and as much as many of your friends' parents are. That can really mess a kid up and not prepare them well for the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
tell me
yeah,
about, starting your own business with that $100 to your name and kind of getting that going.
yeah. It was crazy. So I drive home. I had a 12-minute drive from the bank, and I didn't tell or call my wife first. I called some painters that I knew, and I said, "Hey guys, give me 30 days, and I'm going to go line up paint jobs." And I get home, and Emily's like, "Hey, you're home kind of early today. It's like 1, 2 o'clock. It's just after lunch." And I go, "Yeah, freaking, punk bank president fires me, and what do you?" She said, "What are you going to do?" I said, I've got some daylight left. I've got to go get a couple things put together, and we're going to paint houses, and I'll be home when the sun comes down." She's like, "Man, I believe in you. You've got this. I love you. Go get it." And that was right after it happened. And I literally went to Kinko's Copies. I made some crooked cut business cards. Literally, they cut them crooked. I remember this. There was no logo, no website, no marketing, no nothing, no door hangers. It was $28, right? So now I'm down to 72, if I'm doing that right. And I knocked on doors. And I was very much that sell before you have. I think that's a big thing when you're trying to bootstrap a business. It wasn't, "Hey, can you be my first customer, Mr. Homeowner whose door I'm knocking on?" It's, "Hey, I'm Matt. We're going to be painting a bunch of houses in the neighborhood this summer, and I'd love yours to be one of them." So I went out, and that's what I did. And that turned into estimate appointments. I was able to track action to lead flow to conversion and really got a good feel and gauge. And I had already done it, right? So it wasn't new. I did this in college, but I knew I could go out in 2 hours and pick up 2 to 3 appointments, and then land one of them. And just, yeah. And I was really pissed, man. I was really angry. I was angry at the world. I had something to prove, I had something to prove to the, people that bullied me or let me down or whatever it was. So business was very driven. I was driven by anger, and that goes a long way, but it's not the most healthy, long-term, sustainable, or recommended approach to business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, like we talked earlier, our audience, our core audience is, the real estate community.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of that getting started in business is a lot of those kind of same things you got to do. You got to
Mhm.
fight your way in and push your way in.
Yeah, you totally do. You totally do. And I'm a licensed real estate agent. So as
Mhm.
the painting business grew, my goal was to eventually step out of it, let the team lead it. And I love real estate. We've purchased, personal homes and investment properties. And I went to get licensed in 2016. And I thought you needed it to go flip homes and do all this. And you don't. But I got it. And then I found out, well, you've got to hang it somewhere. So I had no plans that I'd be on your podcast saying, "Hey, I'm a pretty successful real estate agent professional," and sharing these stories with people. But that's how it all kind of came together. But yes, very, very basic, same business principles. You're entering into a market. It's more saturated than painting. I mean, think about the barrier to entry, right? You're a bartender at Old Chicago Friday night. You serve a drink to some successful looking guy, gal. What do you do? Sell real estate. That looks sexy. Go get my license, right? $1,000, study the course. And now you're responsible um, for being part of somebody's biggest investment that they're ever going to make for their family, and just saturated with people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not professionals, and they don't take it
Mhm.
professionally. They think it's easy money. It is hard work. That first 24 months, plan to make zero money and find one or two methods that get you business. Open houses every weekend, knock on doors around those open houses, sit at a coffee shop with some of your info out, say hi to people, send real estate reviews to your friends, build, but don't be shotgunning all over the place.
Right.
And a lot of people can't. They see they serve the drink to the guy or the gal at the bar. They see the dollars, they see the success, and they don't realize this guy's been doing this 20 years. It just takes time. Yeah.
Right. And one of the things you mentioned when we were previously talking, it's one of those, I kind of call them like those guerrilla style marketing methods with your painting business, going to the Home Depot and just kind of hanging out at the painting section. So like really, you can use that same principle in the real estate business.
Yeah. You absolutely can. I mean, just hanging out where your potential customers are going to be. And I mean, open houses are great. Do you go to work with a good brokerage? I tell people, I don't think personally the brokerages make the agent. Every brokerage, they're going to come try to recruit you. They have a business model there, and that's great. That's great for them. They're going to say, here's why all of our stuff is the best. But what do they have to offer that you can plug into? So floor, if you want to go sit in the office and be a floor guy, a floor gal, but do that consistently. Have a different approach. I tell people, you're interrupting a conversation or an attention that somebody has to or with something. And you just think about conscious and subconsciously how our attention is, just what has our attention at any given time, right? Phone, right, everything around you. And you have to find a way to creatively, uniquely be you and get in front of them. But yeah, find one thing, do it 200-300 times, and then track your results is a good start.
Right. And I think that's really important when it comes to, those things like, just knocking on the doors around the open houses. Make sure that you're actually tracking that too. It's not just, who walked into my open house, but really all those little interactions that you made around it, add that to the same tracking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in like an open house, you can layer, right? You have the visitors to the open house, you've got the neighbors, you've got everybody that's, that's coming by. So start to build those connections. And I'd say don't try to do something that doesn't resonate with who you are. I have a gentleman who works in the brokerage with us, and he is introverted. He goes, I am a self-professed nerd. I'm an introvert. I'm a computer guy. I'm not going to go out and do these TikTok reels and get in front of a camera. He sends a really amazing, detailed, pragmatic data. And his people love it. And that's him. And I would never try to do that. That's not me. I like to go, get in front of people and, do something crazy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to, that idea of, really finding what works for you and what fits your personality type, because you're going to find there's other people like you out in the world. Like, the data-driven guy, he probably has a great database of, maybe, like doctors or accountants. He's got some really, data-driven people that are probably really interested in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some people are, and then you've got to, but it's got to be you, because people will see when you're, trying to force yourself into something. Be careful about, I don't want to say don't do it. I want to be careful how I say this. Brokerages have great resources. I don't have one with me, but they're going to go, hey, we have a customized marketing plan. Here's the 32 things that we do when we list your home. It's boom, boom, boom. But there's 100 agents in our brokerage, 130. They all get that, and then they just put their logo on it. So how am I different? How are you different from those other 130? So like I took that and I said, hey, let's go to the designer. Let's make this more as to who I am. What are some unique things that I do? So I don't want to discount what the brokerages give you, but they're giving that to other people. So I'll share a story. I lived in Spain for my spring semester, junior year at CSU. I love the country. I fell in love with, like, I've got a tattoo, everything. And I love Spanish coffee. I love sharing it with people. So expired and withdrawn listing farming. What happens to them, right? They get phone calls the minute you expire that or withdraw that. Phones, text, door knocks, letters. I go drop off a blue box with a Spanish coffee kit in it. It cost about $10 for me to make. It's got a really nice letter and envelope, and it's just something different. It gets their attention. I know that I'm going to spend $60 to $100 on 6 to 10 of them, and then I'll get a listing. I'll get $1 million listing out of it. But it's different, and people really appreciate that. And it's me. Then they come out, and we actually have a coffee bar at our office, and we have coffee, and they, get to know me and hear the story. So like, that's just an example. Find something that you love. I know a gentleman, he loves the Denver Broncos, and he has Denver Broncos football parties every Sunday, brings his friends over, and he does 30 to 40 sides a year. Has a great business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I really like, like what you said there about, you know, when you're with your brokerage, you're getting all that material, but you have to separate yourself and, you have to think about your personal brand, and
Yes.
really build that up, because it's not, the person that you're working with, they're not selling with, Remax, they're selling with Matt or whoever it is that
Hmm.
the brokerage is. It's you, the person
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
working with.
Well, it's funny, and I'll prove that that's the case because I work for a phenomenal. It's one of the top brokerages in Northern Colorado. It's C3 Real Estate Solutions.
Mhm.
They're a local brand. They're run by John Simmons and Jesse Lehner, both phenomenal guys. And I'd say 30 to 35% of the people they'll introduce me or they'll mention the brokerage. They go, "Hey, this is Matt with 8Z, C3 8Z." They don't know it's Matt.
Right.
I'm like, no, it's not 8Z. They go, well, it doesn't matter. They don't care. I mean, again, be careful how I say it, right? I know some brokerages, like they've got some really great international exposure or whatever
Mhm.
that is. They're niched and farm ranch luxury. You'll get some lead flow there, but I wasn't surprised and also a little disappointed by the brokerages pushing so much that your success was going to hinge on everything they did. And it makes people think, oh yeah, I just show up and sit here, turn the computer on, and I'm going to do a bunch of deals. No, it's work. A lot of rejection at first. You're grinding. There are thousands of other people in this business. It's not for the thin-skinned or faint of heart
Right.
or short-sighted people or people with money goggles. People will see through that. Don't have money goggles. We can talk more about that.
Yeah. Well, and like what you said there about you have to understand. I think for newer agents that get in and maybe don't quite understand how much work it took for that guy that they were serving at the bar, you know, um, by joining a brokerage and thinking that they're going to do everything for you, you're not taking that approach of this is a small business. You're personal. Like it's a small business that you are running.
Yes.
You're not an employee of somewhere.
No, you're most of the time right. Independent contractor is how they do it, and you need to understand what a profit and loss statement is. And a friend of mine, Mike McCallowicks, he's a business author. I believe it was his book, Clockwork. He says it's the ACDC model. So that's an acronym for attract, convert, deliver, collect. So attracting is marketing, converting is sales, landing a buyer, landing a listing. You have to deliver your service, right? You have to help the buyer
Mhm.
buy the home, help the seller sell the home, the investor, whatever it is. And then you have to collect your money, which you collect from the brokerage. And
Right.
then you got to manage all that. And that cycle just keeps repeating. But no, people forget about that. You've got to have some systems, professionals in place. Get an attorney,
Mhm.
get somebody that can set up QuickBooks online. It's very simple, and keep track of your numbers. You got to know where your numbers are at. Yeah, you don't. It's if you do 300 in GCI, that's not what you make. It's not what you
Right.
keep.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't
Well,
spend don't spend that all right away.
right. Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the money goggles. I want to hear that.
It's really funny. I can share an example of. I'm in a Starbucks, and this wasn't a real estate thing, but there's a gentleman selling financial services, and he's sitting there with a guy that must be his sales manager before this potential client shows up to have coffee. And he's like, "All right, so how are you going to close them? How are you going to land that commission or whatever it was?" And you could just hear by their language, the person coming in was a target to make a
Mhm.
commission very selfishly for that investment professional. Now, that guy's got to feed his family. Totally understand that. But it was not a servant, Bob Berg go giver, right? It was not a go giver. Hey, I'm here to be a resource and help you and
Mhm.
advise you. And you make the decision when you're ready. It was, how am I going to close this guy's $1.3 million portfolio so I can make X, right? And then I watched the guy come in. I listened to it was the most disgusting thing ever. And I sat there and I don't know if that guy closed the deal, but in real estate, So many agents. I have the benefit. I have another successful business. I don't need the real estate money. That is a benefit of working with me. And I tell people that. I don't need this. I like this. It's great for my family, but I am going to always put you and your best interest and give you solid advice and let you make the call. And if you think I'm the best, great. But you get these agents that are like, all right, I got a listing. We can do 3% math really well. And that's about it.
Right. And I think that's one of those things, like if newer agents, and especially younger newer agents that weren't coming from, other experiences like your own, understood that having those money goggles and not treating everything transactionally, that is not the long game approach on things. That is not setting yourself up for scalable success later on.
Yeah. And people feel that. I mean, I feel that, at least being a sales guy and being in a sales environment, you can tell when somebody really has your best interests at heart. My best line in an open house, it's not, hey, would you like me to give you a free? It's, hey, just let me know how I can be a resource. Here's some coffee. If you have questions, you've got another agent. Awesome. Like that's a great agent. If for any reason that ever stops happening, just let me be a resource. And I'm here. You still have to ask for the business, but just that pitchy, tricky, just be a real human. Show who you are. Be real. Be authentic, and you'll attract people. You don't need to go chase. When you really get into that attraction mode and mentality, that's when business becomes a lot easier. It's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you about your book that you got out there. I want you to tell me a little bit about that.
Painted Baby. So the premise of it is that we live in a world where we are constantly conditioned from the minute we get to this world to be perfect, show up perfect. And I call it painting a picture of perfection, right? So as a realtor, as a painter, as whatever business you're in, we're trained to lead with our shiny marketing brochure, A+ reviews, 5-star, best of the best. My painting company back in 2008, we had a paint sprayer explode on a job site, painted a customer's baby, like legitimately painted a customer's baby, very bad situation. And we handled the situation. You can say you have integrity until it's tested. And then that's when you actually show it. And that shows up in some of the worst moments. So the premise of the book is that trust and connection is not built by you putting your best foot forward and posturing in front of somebody. It is being real, authentic, vulnerable. And I call it the 6 C's of brave and vulnerable storytelling. The last 3 is that you need to capture, craft, and communicate a message that shows you in some of your worst moments where something was on the line, maybe a story your competition might find out and love to go run with, and then you share it first. And when you do that, there's something that happens in the human brain, in the human dynamic of relationships, where they go, whoa, this isn't some flashy buttoned up realtor. Like he used to be an alcoholic and he's actually talking about it. And he shared some of his worst moments. Wow, now I can let my guard down and do that too. And you build deeper connections. And Painted Baby is all about that. I've got some amazing stories from entrepreneurs that both personally and professionally had some really crazy stories, and they leaned into them, shared them, and ultimately made their life and business better.
Awesome. Yeah. I think, it's one of those things, like we talked to each other for a few minutes, a few days ago, but you really do get to know each other very quickly if you just let your guard down and actually be a real person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I realized as I wrote the book where that transition was in the business of how much I was doing it, and then how this event, it was a sales call, and the guy would not close business with me until I told him about one of my screw ups. And I shared the story with him, and he was totally engaged. And he's like, you're the kind of guy I want to do business with. That takes a lot of bravery to share that. And then turns out this big job we end up landing with him, we had a pretty big disaster happen there too. And he didn't freak out. He didn't fire us. He just said, Matt, I knew you took care of the Painted Baby, so I know you'll take care of this. Just tell me when it's done. It just makes life easy.
Yeah.
Easier.
Absolutely.
Life's not easy. It makes life easier.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, where can people pick up a copy of your book so they can, check things out?
It launches on Amazon January 31st, Tuesday. So Perfect. I don't know when you'll post this in relation to the launch, but go to Amazon.
Yeah, we'll definitely pop a link in there for it, and we'll put it right in the episode description. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I
Awesome.
can be found just mattshoup.com. Everything's on my website. I've got some really awesome free tools to build your business, advance your leadership. And I do a morning coffee video on all the social medias every morning. So yeah, come follow me there and stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put all the links in there so we can, so everybody listening
Awesome.
can keep in touch with you. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me here.
I really want to thank Matt for sharing his personal stories and tips to help entrepreneurs stand out in their markets and build successful and sustainable businesses. Remember, if you want to hear more from Matt, we have a link to his brand new book, Painted Baby, as well as his website in the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.